You need to hear this. You were not born to depend on someone else for your happiness. That idea, that belief that someone has to complete you, that if you're alone, you're broken or failing, that's a lie, a dangerous one. And if you keep waiting for someone to come along and make you happy, you're going to be waiting forever. Let me say it loud and clear. You have everything you need within you to live, grow, and even thrive alone. This isn't about becoming a loner or isolating yourself. This is about developing emotional independence. Emotional independence is a skill. It's something you build through practice, through challenge, through discipline. You don't come out of the womb knowing how to rely on yourself. You build that. You train it. And the best part, once you learn it, no one can take it away from you. One of the most powerful things you can do for your mental health, your goals, and your future relationships is to learn how to enjoy your own company. We live in a world full of distractions. We're told constantly to stay busy, stay connected, scroll endlessly, text someone back right away. But ask yourself this: when was the last time you sat quietly with just your thoughts and didn't feel the urge to run? Didn't feel the panic of silence? That discomfort is telling you something you're not yet comfortable with yourself. And that's your starting point. You become strong alone when you start building the kind of habits that feed your soul, not your feed. Wake up and journal. Read that book. Go on that walk. Cook for yourself. Take yourself out to dinner. Learn a new skill. Not because someone is watching, not because you're going to post it, but because you're worth that kind of attention. You stop waiting for someone to treat you right and you start treating yourself right. Here's what nobody tells you. Solitude is where self-awareness grows. When you're constantly surrounded by noise, people, opinions, validation, likes, you can't hear yourself. But in silence, you can. You'll hear your doubts, your fears, your self-criticism. But you'll also start to hear your truth, what you want, what matters to you, what you actually believe, not what your friends, your parents, or society told you to believe. And that kind of clarity, that's power. You've got to understand that confidence doesn't come from being liked. It comes from knowing you can rely on yourself. It's not built in group chats or social circles. It's built in the moments when it's just you, the challenge, and the decision to keep going. Every time you show up for yourself, especially when no one else does, you cast a vote for the kind of person you're becoming. And listen, this part is important. Being strong alone doesn't mean you never want relationships. It doesn't mean you don't need people. It means you're not dependent on them for your peace, your validation, or your happiness. Because once you become strong enough to be happy alone, you stop settling, you stop clinging, you start choosing. You choose better friends, better partners, better environments, because you're no longer afraid of being alone. And that's what makes you powerful. So if you're in a season of solitude right now, don't rush out of it. Don't mask it with noise. Lean into it. Build the habits. Strengthen the routines. Reflect. Take responsibility for your growth. Stop blaming others for how you feel and start building the emotional muscle to handle it. You don't need permission to be enough. You already are. But you do need a plan. You need discipline. You need to practice. And most of all, you need to stop running from yourself. You've got one job now. Make yourself strong enough to be happy alone. So when the right people come along, they add to your life. They don't become your life. That's how you win. Let me tell you something you might not want to hear. No one is coming to save you. That dream partner you keep imagining, that friend group that's supposed to finally get you, that magical mentor who's going to show up and fix your problems, stop waiting. Stop outsourcing your happiness to people who aren't even in the picture yet. Because here's the truth. You've got to learn how to be your own rescue mission. Most of us grow up thinking that happiness is tied to other people, that if we can just find the right person, the right tribe, the right vibe, we'll finally feel whole. And while yes, community is important, it should never be the crutch you lean on to survive emotionally. When you make your peace dependent on other people showing up, what happens when they don't? You spiral, you collapse. And that is why learning to stand strong alone is not just a nice idea, it's a requirement. When you spend time alone, it forces you to confront the parts of yourself that you usually avoid. And I get it, it's uncomfortable. You'll want to reach for your phone. You'll want to call someone. You'll want to distract yourself. But what if you didn't? What if you leaned into that silence and actually listened? That's where your strength begins to build. Not in comfort, but in confrontation with yourself. And let's be clear, being alone doesn't mean being lonely. Loneliness is emotional. Being alone is situational. You can be in a room full of people and still feel lonely. But when you're strong enough to be happy alone, you start building an internal world that is rich, peaceful, and fulfilling, whether anyone is there or not. That's emotional independence. That's maturity. That's power. Start taking ownership of your time, your energy, your choices. Use this time, this season of solitude, not as a punishment, but as preparation. Read books that challenge your thinking. Set goals that scare you. Get curious about who you are and what you actually want in life. Because if you don't know what drives you, you'll keep chasing relationships that distract you instead of relationships that support you. I want you to understand something deeply. You are capable of creating a life that you love, even if no one else is clapping for you right now. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are in a phase where you are being shaped. And shaping hurts. Growth hurts. But it is necessary if you're going to become someone who doesn't crumble every time someone walks away. When you're strong enough to be happy alone, your standards rise. You stop begging for scraps of attention. You stop over-explaining your worth. You stop accepting inconsistent energy. Because you've done the work. You've sat with yourself. You've validated your own emotions. You've stopped waiting for someone to choose you and started choosing yourself. That's the kind of strength that changes your entire life. Think about how much time you've wasted hoping someone else would see your value, hoping someone would finally treat you the way you deserve. What if you flipped that energy and gave it to yourself? What if you became the person you've been waiting for? You want loyalty? Be loyal to your goals. You want love? Start treating yourself with compassion. You want support? Build a routine that lifts you up even on your worst days. This is what growing strong alone looks like. It's not loud, it's not flashy, it's consistent, quiet, intentional. It's saying no when you used to say yes just to be liked. It's showing up for yourself when no one is watching. It's trusting that your peace is worth more than temporary attention. You don't need to be surrounded to feel valuable. You just need to realize that your value never came from the outside in the first place. It's always been inside you. You just forgot, or maybe no one ever told you. But now you know, and now it's on you to act like it. So stop hiding in the crowd. Stop using other people as a distraction from your own potential. This is your moment. This is your training ground. Build your confidence, build your clarity, build your emotional strength so that when life throws chaos at you, you don't fall apart. You rise. You've got this. And more importantly, you've got you. That's enough. Most people are terrified of being alone because they think it means something's wrong with them. Society has trained you to believe that if you're not constantly surrounded by people, dating someone, or busy with friends, you're somehow lacking. But the truth is that fear is just a reflection of how little time you've spent getting to know the real you. Because when you know who you are, when you truly like yourself, staying alone stops feeling like a punishment and starts feeling like power. Let's reframe the entire narrative. Solitude isn't isolation, it's creation. It's the space where your best ideas are born, where your next version is molded, where your purpose becomes clear. When you're constantly surrounded by people, you're taking in everyone else's energy, opinions, and expectations. And without realizing it, you begin to live a life built around pleasing others rather than listening to your own inner compass. That's why being alone is a gift. It's time carved out just for you, to check in, realign, and build something real. You learn how to become your own best friend. You stop abandoning yourself to chase approval. You start holding yourself accountable in ways that no external relationship ever could. You become the kind of person who doesn't just survive alone, but thrives. You know what's really powerful? Waking up and realizing you don't need a text back to feel worthy. You don't need someone's company to enjoy your day. You don't need external permission to rest, to grow, to create, or to celebrate. That kind of freedom, that's what most people are chasing but never find because they keep looking for it in someone else instead of themselves. This journey of learning to be happy alone forces you to face your biggest enemy, your own mind. You'll hear every self-doubt, every old wound, every limiting belief. But here's the thing, you can't heal what you keep distracting yourself from. Alone time gives you the opportunity to finally hear those thoughts and challenge them. And that's where the shift happens. You realize you're not your thoughts. You realize that confidence doesn't come from other people praising you. It comes from learning how to do not believe every negative thing you think about yourself. And this transformation, it doesn't happen overnight. It's daily work. It's small promises kept. It's choosing not to escape your feelings, but to sit with them, process them, and grow from them. It's noticing the urge to call someone just to fill the silence and instead choosing to breathe, journal, take a walk, or sit in gratitude. You build strength, not in the big moments, but in those micro decisions when you choose yourself instead of escape. Think about it. How many times have you made choices just to avoid being alone? Stayed in toxic relationships, said yes to people who drained you, filled your schedule with noise. That kind of living keeps you dependent, reactive, and stuck. But once you start owning your alone time, you become intentional. You set standards. You say no with confidence. You create space for the people and opportunities that truly align with your values. Because you're no longer afraid of what it means to be alone. And here's something even deeper. Being happy alone doesn't mean you're shutting people out. It means you're setting the foundation for healthier relationships in the future. When you're not entering relationships out of need, but out of choice, everything changes. You become magnetic, not because you're chasing, but because you're centered, whole. You draw in people who match your energy, not deplete it. That's the reward for doing the work. And if you're thinking, but it's hard, good, it's supposed to be. Growth always is. You're literally rewiring your brain to stop seeking safety in others and to start finding it in yourself. That's the most courageous work you'll ever do. You're not weak for feeling discomfort. You're strong for facing it. So stay in the room, stay in the silence, build the habits. Keep showing up for yourself even when it's inconvenient. The strength you're building now, it's not just for today. It's for every version of you in the future who will walk into rooms with their head held high, not because someone hyped them up, but because they know who they are. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. You just have to prove to yourself that you're capable of handling your own company. And once you do that, you unlock a level of self-trust that no one can take from you. Keep going. You're not becoming someone else. You're finally coming home to who you've always been. There will come a day when you look back at the time you spent alone, not with regret, but with deep gratitude, because that was the season when you built yourself. That was the time when you stopped searching outside of you for validation and started rooting your worth deep within. That was the moment you began to realize that everything you were looking for in other people, security, peace, love, acceptance, was something you had the power to give to yourself. And that realization, that changes everything. It's not easy. At first, being alone feels unfamiliar, even scary. You'll have moments where the silence feels deafening, where the lack of external affirmation makes you question if you're on the right path, where the quiet starts to dig up emotions you thought you had buried long ago. But that's the work. That's the part most people try to skip. They jump into the next relationship, the next social plan, the next distraction, because feeling lonely for even a minute is uncomfortable. But growth is uncomfortable. Transformation is uncomfortable. And if you want to become strong enough to be happy alone, you have to get really comfortable being uncomfortable. Start by being honest with yourself. Ask the hard questions. Why do I fear being alone? What parts of myself am I avoiding when I constantly need to be surrounded by others? What beliefs have I picked up that tell me I'm not enough unless I'm needed, loved, or praised by someone else? That's where the breakthrough begins. Not in the doing, but in the awareness. Because once you know the answers, you can begin to rewrite them. And you can only rewrite what you're willing to confront. So much of our inner chaos comes from seeking external solutions to internal problems. You think if someone just loved you the right way, you'd feel secure. If you had the perfect friend group, you'd finally feel accepted. But the truth is, you'll never feel whole with other people if you're fragmented within yourself. You have to become your own anchor, your own cheerleader, your own safe place, When you're happy alone, you stop performing, you stop pretending, you stop morphing into who people expect you to be just to feel included. Instead, you show up as you, authentic, grounded, and clear on your values. That's not arrogance, that's self-respect, and that's the type of person who builds a life on purpose, not by accident. Alone time gives you the chance to figure out what really matters to you, what you enjoy, what excites you, what drains you. And when you start paying attention to that, you begin to build a life that's aligned, not just busy. You start to fill your days with things that light you up from the inside out. Whether it's building a new skill, working on your health, writing that book, learning to cook, or simply taking time to rest without guilt, every action becomes an act of self-honoring. You're no longer living for the next moment of approval. You're living for yourself. And here's the beauty in all of it. When you become strong enough to be happy alone, you open the door to the most meaningful connections of your life. Not because you need them, but because you're ready to share the overflow. You're not seeking a savior, you're looking for someone who complements your wholeness, not completes it. You attract people who see your light, not because it fills a void, but because it reflects their own. Everything changes when you stop fearing solitude and start embracing it. You begin to see it as a training ground for your future. Every day alone becomes a lesson in discipline, resilience, and self-compassion. Every quiet moment becomes an opportunity to build the kind of mental and emotional strength that no circumstance can shake. This isn't about isolating yourself from the world. It's about becoming so rooted in yourself that the world no longer has the power to pull you off course. You stand firm. You make decisions from clarity, not desperation. You move through life with quiet confidence, knowing that whether you're surrounded by people or standing alone, you are whole either way. So don't rush through this season. Don't wish it away. Use it. Let it mold you. Let it sharpen you. Let it remind you that the most important relationship you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself. Because when that's strong, everything else, your work, your goals, your relationships, get stronger too. You were never meant to be completed by someone else. You were meant to complete yourself, and then choose to share that with the world. One of the greatest misconceptions we've been sold is that happiness is something you find in someone else, that love will fix you, that companionship will heal you, that relationships are the key to fulfillment. But here's the truth you need to embrace right now. And real happiness starts when you stop searching for it in other people and start creating it from within. Because the strongest kind of love, the kind that actually lasts, is the one you build with yourself. When you grow strong enough to be happy alone, you stop looking at alone time as empty space and start seeing it as your most valuable asset. That's where clarity is born. That's where confidence is forged. It's where your intuition gets louder and your voice becomes clearer. You start recognizing what you truly want, not what you've been conditioned to chase. That kind of awareness only happens when you remove the noise and finally give yourself permission to listen. It's easy to get caught in the trap of thinking that once you have the relationship, the friend circle, the job, the recognition, then you'll finally feel okay. But if you can't feel okay with yourself right now, nothing external will ever be enough. It'll just be a temporary fix, a distraction, a delay. Because you can't escape the truth that everywhere you go, you take you. So if you don't like who you are when it's quiet, that's the work. That's your assignment. You become strong when you stop running from solitude and start meeting yourself in it. You stop waiting for someone to validate your feelings and you start validating your own. You stop looking for approval and start building your own standards. You start recognizing that your peace, your growth, your joy, it's no one else's responsibility but yours. And when you take that kind of ownership, you become unstoppable. Let's get real. This journey isn't about becoming cold or heartless or never needing anyone again. This is about being emotionally self-sufficient. It's about knowing that if everyone walked away, you'd still be standing, still believing, still creating, still living, because you've built a foundation within yourself that no one else has the power to shake. That strength comes from the discipline of showing up for yourself day after day. It's built in the early mornings when you choose to move your body even when no one's watching. It's built in the quiet nights when you put your phone down and reflect instead of numbing out. It's built in the decisions to set boundaries, say no, and prioritize your peace even when it's uncomfortable. That's not selfish. That's self-respect. You begin to realize that being alone doesn't mean you're unloved. It means you're available to love yourself deeply and without interruption. And from that place, you stop chasing people who don't appreciate you. You stop settling for half-hearted connections. You stop tolerating chaos just to avoid the silence. Instead, you become intentional with who you allow into your life. Because when your inner world is calm and fulfilled, you don't need the drama. You don't need the validation. You've already given it to yourself. You also begin to discover your capacity. You learn that you can handle discomfort, boredom, loneliness, and still come out stronger. You learn that every time you choose to stay with yourself in those hard moments, instead of abandoning yourself to someone else's presence, you build resilience. And with that resilience comes a quiet confidence, the kind that doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. One day you'll wake up and realize you're not waiting anymore. Not waiting for the call, the invite, the apology, the rescue, because you've become the person who gives yourself what you need. You've become the one who sets the standard, who defines your worth, who creates your joy. And when you walk into the world from that place, everything changes. People will feel your energy differently. You'll attract based on your truth, not your fear. You'll stop clinging to what's comfortable and start reaching for what's right. That's what being